Hey guys, this is KITHERA here. Welcome back to the second chapter of And Quiet Flows the Dawn. We're back at it again with another chapter here. I'm really excited. I know the first chapter kind of seemed a bit boring. It was just like going over the who the characters were and like the ancestry, but this time we got some we're into the actual story now. So I think this is going to be pretty cool. Alright, so we're starting off. It's presumably at Pantelemon's house. Ooh, for a reminder, Pantelemon is the half Turkish, half Russian. He's like the father. He's described as being kind of old in this book right now, and his sons are they're basically like 18 at this point. They're pretty grown because it says later that they're eligible for the draft. But it basically starts off with Pantelemon is getting his son, Gregor, who's the middle child. He's basically getting him out to go for a morning sort of fishing trip. I guess is pretty common, and it seems that relations with the rest of the family, relations with the rest of the village seem kind of fine because they're kind of talking about the rest of the village and the different sort of people there as if they were kind of connected back into them as if they're not as secluded, and even. There's something that is kind of hinted at, but later is also expanded on, is that Gregor apparently has been flirting and has been getting along with the wife of the neighbor, and so her name is Aksinia, and apparently her and Gregor have been talking and flirting for quite some time, and Pantelemon takes note of this, and he even tells Gregor, while they're fishing, he's like, hey man, if you keep doing that, I may have to whip you even though you're like a grown man and stuff. And Gregor doesn't really buy this, so he's kind of mad at this too. So this is kind of a start of tension that we have, especially because the husband of the wife, Stepan, they're the neighbor, and they're supposed to be good neighbors and whatnot. So they eventually catch a carp, which that's a pretty big scene in there, where the carp goes I think under the boat at some point, and it's pretty hard to catch it, but they eventually do catch it, and this is still early in the morning, and eventually after Gregor and his father have their talk about Aksinia, Gregor returns to shore with the carp, and he meets with his friend Mitka. And with the intention they're going to go to the market and they're going to sell it to, I guess, Father Mokhov or the Mokhov family. They're not really clear about that. But, yeah, they're going to go sell that, to sell the fish. And, yeah, they're just kind of walking together. And I think this is where we also see that, we can clearly see that the relationship with the rest of the Prokofovich family is a lot better with the village now. It's definitely been a few years since that whole thing has happened, and it's not really relevant anymore. But we also get introduced to some other characters. We got the war-torn, the war-scarred Alexei, and we also have Shamil, who are brothers. We get introduced to a few more characters. But other than that, it sets the scene for a pretty good, what the average village life in the Cossack, sort of homestead is really like. So we also get introduced to Grishaka, who, this is really confusing, and a lot of Russian nicknames do that, but it's different from Grishka, and Grishka is the nickname of Gregor, and they're off by one letter, so Grishaka is basically telling war stories about how he was in the Turkish War, and when they say the Turkish War, they're not really clear about if it's the 1877 one, which they probably would be referring to at this time. Probably it just kind of lines up better, or the Crimean War, which was in the 1850s. But they just sort of call it the Turkish War, and the Ottomans and the Russians have been fighting for quite a while anyway. So it's not really too much of a big deal when it comes to this sort of anecdote. And so, Gregor mentioned earlier, he goes to the Mokhov's house, which is a family in the local area, to sell the fish, and he goes along with his friend Mitka. And when they get to the house, Gregor goes and talks to the patriarch of the family, Sergei Mokhov, and he's talking about like selling the fish. And meanwhile, Mitka meets with the daughter of Sergei, who doesn't have a name as of yet. But at this time, Mitka really seems to adore the daughter, and talks a lot about wow, she's like really pretty, obviously that sort of stuff. And then she starts, and then he starts talking to her, and there's that sort of thing going there. And at the end, there's kind of something weird, where it says like, the last words of the chapter are, Gregor came out with empty hands, in context of, the fish, not being sold, or maybe he gave him the fish, but not, no money was earned. So it's kind of a interesting sentence, and it's also, it not only being the last sentence, but also it being short. I think it's literally only 6 words here. It's just Gregor came out with empty hands. I mean, just from kind of, when you're looking at it at face value, it kind of just shows the abruptness, and it's almost like this isn't really a common occurrence, or this is important, they're trying to, add some attention to this. So I'm not really sure if this is significant of like their relationship or anything, but either way, Gregor did not get his money. So yeah, there's not really too much to talk about in this chapter, just we get some setup for who the characters are interacting. I mean, it's pretty important in context with the rest of the story, but in terms of like, literary significance, there's not really too much. But I really think that it is kind of important setting up the different relations in the Cossack sort of lifestyle in Tatarsk, which is the village that this is set in. So I think it's important for the characters. But what I also think is pretty important is in the beginning how they start off with, this becomes a third-person narrative, but it zooms particularly in on certain life, whereas before it was just kind of general history. In this one, it zooms in, and this happens like quite a lot during a lot of these chapters, where it'll zoom in on the natural scenery of the Don River. Like the Don River is almost like a overwatching, is a figure sort of watching. It's almost like, it's in this chapter, it's like right next to the stars, which I kind of see as the dawn, almost like this figure that's watching over them, no matter what happens, no matter what they do, no matter what type of wars they get involved in, no matter what type of drama happens, the Don River is always still there. And I really like how it starts off with the first words, here and there stars are still piercing through the ashen early morning sky. A wind was blowing from under a bank of cloud. Over the dawn, a mist was rolling high, piling against the slope of a chalky hill and crawling into the cliff with a gray, headless serpent. So it's really good about the nature imagery and the descriptions such as that, and I do like how that's a very common occurrence within. And I also think the first setup that we get for Gregor and his father, Panteleimon, is kind of important as well, because in the first chapter, Gregor is first introduced, like when his name is first mentioned, it mentions that he is, quote, just like his father, half a head taller than his older brother, and some 6 years younger, the same hanging hook nose as his father, bluish almonds of burning irises in slightly oblique slits, and then it goes on, about his facial description, which I think is pretty significant, kind of zooming in on him. But regardless, I think the significance of Gregor, being in this is that it's sort of when Panteleimon wakes him up and he orders him to do all of the fishing, he complains that he's not rowing enough, and he's always ordering him around what to do. I think that sort of sets it definitely sets a relationship about, like, he definitely treats Panteleimon, he treats Gregor definitely more harshly than the others, but I think it also sets up the fact that Gregor probably is a bit more disobedient than the rest of his family. Yeah, so, that was chapter 2 of And Quiet Flows the Dawn. Thank you so much for listening in. I'll be covering chapter 2, I guess next week, or whatever the upload schedule is. I don't really care, but next one will be coming out. But yeah, that's what we got so far. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, following for more content, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.